Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Come find your seats. Those of you online, hello. Welcome. I want to thank you all for coming back into the sanctuary after lunch and hopefully being moved and inspired by the words and reflections that you're going to hear from a really incredible group of individuals who I was fortunate enough to travel with to Israel for a week that even after the second day we said to each other, it feels like we've been here for a month. And then after 3 days, it felt like we had been there for 3 months. And then by the time we left, it felt like we had been there for a year. So you already heard from me, so you don't need to hear from me again. But, okay, all right. But I do want to share, as a way of starting out, to frame the conversation. And at the end of our conversation with those who traveled with me to Israel, we're going to hear from Rick Schillender and maybe Steve. I don't know who's going to be speaking, but of an initiative that is being run by the ADL called Kulanu, which is very, very important in the time in which we live, where unfortunately anti-Semitism has once again reared its ugly head. So I do hope that you'll stay for the hopefully 45 minutes or an hour that we're going to be together. It's Shabbat. Where do you have to go? What do you have to do? All right. Home. What's home? This is home. This is home. Many years ago in Israel, the October 7th tragedy is not the first time there have been, as you know, terrorist attacks against Israelis, starting even before the war, especially the massacre in Hebron in 1929. But there was a moment in the 50s, I believe it was, where terrorists came over the border from Gaza. And they attacked Nahal Oz, one of the kibbutzim that again was attacked. And they killed Roe Rotberg, who was the security officer of Nahal Oz. And at the time, Moshe Dayan, who was the chief of staff, came to the funeral and gave a eulogy. And it's a eulogy that has been held up in Israel as one of the most profound moments and speeches in Israel history. And I'm not going to read you the whole of the eulogy, but I'm going to read you one tiny little section. We are a generation that settles the land, and without the steel helmet and the cannon's maw, we will not be able to plant a tree and build a home. Let us not be deterred from seeing the loathing that is inflaming and filling the lives of the hundreds of thousands of Arabs. Let us not avert our eyes lest our arms weaken. This is the fate of our generation. This is our life's choice. To be prepared and armed, strong and determined, lest the sword be stricken from our fist and our lives cut down. This was a prophecy that 3 generations later has unfortunately not lost its relevance. But what we do need to remember, and polls most recently show it, that the vast majority of Israelis today believe in the future of Israel, have hope in the future of Israel, are Zionistic and patriotic for the land of Israel, and willingly risk their lives every single day for the land of Israel. May we in America do the same. So we are going to invite, I think it was Michael who said, Michael, where are you? There you are, Michael. Michael Greenwald, who's going to come first and share with us reflections. The last day that we gathered, I asked everybody on our trip 2 questions. I said to them, what experience made you see Israel in a different way? Or what experience opened up your eyes to Israel today? And then I asked the question, what did you notice that brings you and gives you great hope for the future? So we're going to hear some of that from those who are speaking today. Michael.
Hello, I'm Michael Greenwald, and thank you for coming to hear some of our experiences on our trip. I couldn't help but fall in love with Israel on this trip. It was deeply moving and powerful, and there's so many experiences that were life-changing. I want to share one with you all. Often we would experience, or I would experience, a wide range of feelings within one day, everything from deep horror and heartbreak to tremendous inspiration and admiration. And that happened when we had the honor and privilege of visiting with wounded IDF soldiers at Sheba Hospital. And these young soldiers, many of them had lost limbs in battle defending Israel, and they were willing and open to let us sit down with them and just hear their stories about their injuries and about their experiences. And they didn't have to do that. They volunteered to do that. And that was just incredibly moving in and of itself. But what stood out to me was how each of these young soldiers kind of came to be the embodiment of Israel and the people of Israel to me. Because each of them, in spite of their life-changing injuries that will affect them for the course of their lives, where they lost a limb and were going to have another surgery and then get a prosthetic, they had this strong spirit that didn't diminish, and I think was probably even strengthened by their experiences. They had this powerful will and determination and perseverance, their courage, and again, strength of spirit was profound, and their openness, and you can see in their eyes, their love for their country was stronger than ever. And I was just so impressed and moved by them and how they would just open up to us and share their experiences, that really stuck with me, and I had just tremendous respect and admiration for them. And as I said, they came to represent how I view Israel as a country and the people of Israel. Thank you very much.
Judy, are you interested in follow? You do have to follow. You don't have to follow, and we can. Yeah, just thank you. Make sure that you hit the mic. They're pretty good. So.
Hi, I'm Judy Greenwald. That's my husband. He was very moving, and that was a great experience. There are just so many from this short week that just moved us. I'll choose one other one that also had to do with a young soldier. One of the most moving days for me was when we were probably a mile and a half from the Gaza border, and we were making sandwiches for soldiers. So it was really fulfilling because we were literally, feeding the troops. And some of the soldiers were able to come to where this makeshift kitchen was set up and come and relax. I mean, they came from Gaza, and we're assembly line making sandwiches, and they came, and they're in high spirits, and they relaxed, and they joked, and one whose Jeep broke down started helping us make sandwiches, and he was thanking us, and we're thanking him, and that was moving. And at some point, I struck up a conversation with a young woman soldier who was, I don't think she was right now in active duty, but she was from the waist down, she was dressed in uniform, but not from, so I don't think she was there. But she made Aliyah with her family when she was 17, and she was from Florida. And she started telling me, we were just talking about making Aliyah and her serving in the IDF. And she said, I liked Florida. It was great, but I wouldn't die for it. And I wouldn't die for anybody there. But I would die for anybody around me and for this land. And I was just so struck by that. And I don't know how that gets, that's what they all seem to have, this love for and a higher purpose to feel so much love for the land and for the people that they would sacrifice their lives for it. And I just thought that's something I see missing here. So, and that made a great impression on me. So, thank you.
So Eliza Enbaum, who is the director of our Nook, was able to attend the program, and she came back in order to relay the stories not to the littlest infants in our community, but to the teachers and everybody and the parents that she gets to interact with, so that they were able to deepen their understanding of what's going on in Israel. Eliza.
I wrote my story down. Oh, is that better? Is that better? Okay. Okay, you don't want my teacher voice. Is that better? Okay. We were asked to pick a single experience that moved and shocked us the most, and what gave us hope for the future. That is a tough question, as every minute we spent in Israel was just that. When I close my eyes and think about this, the first thing that comes to me is when we spent half the day in Moshav Shokedab making sandwiches for the active IDF soldiers. We were about a mile away from Gaza. I did not know what to expect. I don't think it fully hit me until about 30 minutes in that we were feeding soldiers who were coming from the war, taking a break. Trucks after trucks of soldiers were coming in, and they were coming in happy and smiling. While we were working away, we could hear the booms and sounds of war. I wasn't scared, but I was feeling pretty sad. Sad to think that there are young men and women out there fighting for their country, fighting for the hostages to come home, and missing their own families. How can I be sad when they're so happy? While we were working, a soldier came over to us. His name was Or. He asked where we were from and why we were in Israel at a time like this. We explained our mission, and he quickly grabbed us and gave us huge hugs. Thank you for coming and supporting us. You don't know what this means to us. After a minute, he told us that his truck broke down and was waiting for it to get fixed. He asked us if he could help us make sandwiches. We said, no, go sit down, relax. His answer was, no, if I can help more, I want to. He stood there for 20 to 30 minutes making sandwiches for his fellow soldiers. We talked about the war and what he was experiencing. We talked about his dreams and coming to America and his own family. Their truck got fixed, he ate, and he and his unit left to go back to Gaza to continue the fight, but not before giving us huge hugs and thanking us again. I was in awe of them, the bravery, the pride, the gratitude they had for us when we should be thanking them. It's a feeling that I cannot fully express. After standing for 4 solid hours, I needed to sit for a minute. I sat there quietly. The sounds of war became background noise at this point. I closed my eyes, and for the first time since October 7th, I felt some hope again. Hope that my country will be the country it once was, and even stronger. Hope that the hostages will come home to their families, and hope that even though so much of the world hates us right now, we will rise above and continue to always be proud to be Jewish, and we'll always say, Am Yisrael Chai.
It's like we need to pause and hold each story, each moment in our hearts. Aviva? Aviva and I have many, many wonderful connections, but one in particular is that one of my dearest, dearest friends in life, who I met in rabbinical school, and to this day remain incredibly close. We study together. I stay with him whenever I go to Israel. He happens to be Aviva's nephew. Yeah, very special. And so we share that really deep and wonderful bond.
Yes, we do. Shabbat Shalom. I'm a different person. It's very interesting. As I was growing up, my mother always said to me, whenever I go out of the house, I grew up Orthodox. My mother said, remember who you are, what you are, and where you come from. You know, and as a kid, what do you know? But that's what I felt in Israel, because everybody there knows who they are and what they are and where they come from. And the rabbi spoke about Gabriel. I thought he was the soldier. They are called lone soldiers. Soldiers who come to Israel, don't have family around them. They really have no place to go for Shabbat. And they came, and Gabriel kept talking about the feeling, the unity, that in Hebrew we say achdut. The unity just permeates from everybody. He said, we didn't wait to be called up. On October 7th, we just grabbed our weapons, we grabbed our backpack, our tourniquet, as the rabbi said, and we ran down to the south. And they actually came across terrorists, they killed terrorists. They found guns that they picked up along the way, but he did not pick up the guns from Hamas because he didn't want to be mistaken as a terrorist. And the hospitals we visited, the soldiers when we were making lunch, to say that they're happy, they're singing all the time. And they're cheering Am Yisrael Chai, and you just feel one with them. And it's something that, unless you experience it, I mean, you can read it from afar, you can see pictures from afar, but this was, I felt like an achdut, a tie to them at the same time. And it's something that I'm processing still, and I just can't wait to go back. I go, wait a minute, look how old you are, you still want to go teach? But if anybody wants to go volunteer, there are lots of places to volunteer, and you just fall in love with the people in the country. So thank you.
Where is Charles?
To sum it up quickly, it was an experience that I would never forget. I am more or less conveying facts and stuff like that. I'm not as emotional as some of the other people, but I really, it's something I never forget. I really was impressed about how the camaraderie of the Israeli people and the feeling of solidarity, in spite of all the political differences, everybody came together real fast. Soldiers responded very quickly. All these backup organizations that we saw, they sprung up very quickly. They were ready, and it was a terrible surprise that happened that day. And I kind of relate. It could have been worse, because if other forces came in, and Israel would have had more fronts. It was really a brutal attack, and I thought that it reminded me, and it could have risen to the fact of the Yom Kippur War happening on a holiday too, on a Shabbos. I was really impressed by the solidarity, and we went to all these places, all these help organizations that sprung up or that have always been there, and everybody worked together. I really liked that. My feelings, we saw all these horrific damages and all that. My feelings were really touched. I couldn't believe what I saw. It was a vicious, brutal attack, and I saw it with my own eyes. On a factual thing, like one comment, I mean, we saw all these things. We went to this Red Cross building where they had the emergency dispatch, and there were things saying the Israelis were 3 steps ahead of us. They would respond a lot faster than 911 is in this country. That's an example of Israel. Israel has know-how, solidarity, and a will to exist. And the will to exist is extremely strong, as everybody knows, and Israel must survive at any cost. So anyway, we returned back, and if I were younger and stronger, I would have liked to have been in the Army myself, but I was really unhappy when I had to go to the airport to return my machine gun.
Mary?
Before I begin, I want to tell you thank you to the rabbi and Aviva for making it possible for me to go. I don't think I will ever be the same. I since live in San Diego, and I've met for the first time in my life non-Jewish people. And when they heard I was going, they said, will you keep us up to date? So I sent them a rather lengthy diary. And their response was, I think, what was part of the mission, was to get it out there. So I returned from Israel. It'll be a week tomorrow. And I had been processing this a great deal. It was tough. It was tough emotionally. It was beautiful. And in order to deal with it, I broke it down to good and evil. We saw the personification of evil, unimaginable and barbaric. Murder, rape, and mutilation of women, burning people alive, taking hostages. But we saw good. Good was in the soldiers, volunteers we met, and places we visited, including Sheba Hospital and Brothers for Life. Good was the soldiers who went south on October 7, many of whom lost their lives or survived as amputees. Good was in the meals we made, evacuees housed, support for hostage families, and the continual caring support and love. Good was the Israeli determination and resilience. Good was the pride of young soldiers, their smiles and hugs. By the way, their hugs are the best, and they are so cute. We kept saying, isn't he cute? Look at that hug, right? We saw the evil, but it cannot define Israel's good. So I choose to take home with me the good and a renewed pride in Israel and being a Jew.
Steve?
Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Sachs. I've been a member of this congregation since it was Beth Kodesh. I had my bar mitzvah with Rabbi Shochet and Rabbi Parat 100 years ago. This was my very first trip to Israel. This is my very first trip to Israel. My parents have been before, my kids have been before, but it was my first trip. And we were at a men's meeting a couple months ago, and Rabbi Camras said, you have to go. I was at a men's meeting, a men's club meeting here a few months ago, and Rabbi Camras says, you have to go. So I went, and I knew it wasn't going to be a traditional tourist vacation. It was going to be a volunteering event where you get to see if you can make a difference. So I want to thank Rabbi, I want to thank Hannah and JJ. This experience opened my eyes. When your family or your friends' kids do something interesting or they hit a home run or something, you're happy for them. When your own kids do something, you have pride. Living in the United States is like we're blessed to live here because it's a wonderful place to live. But when you go to Israel, it's a different kind of connection. You fall in love with the country, and you see what all these people do to just exist. It's difficult to accept that there's so much hatred and evil, and all they want to do is just exist. And I compare this to World War II. In World War II, we were lemmings. We didn't know what was going on. We were forced into a situation we had no control over. But now I look at it, and Israel's a different place. We have soldiers, we have resources, we have experience, and they have a will to survive, and nothing's going to stop them. I talked to a lot of soldiers, and they all have such positive outcomes. They say, Steve, we're going to get them. We're going to take this. No worry. They have complete confidence of everything that's going to happen. When we were at the base camp next to Gaza, feeding the soldiers, I got pretty close and connected with a lot of those kids, and they were showing me pictures on their cell phones of, it's like some of the kids were in the actual tunnels, and they were showing me, so some of these tunnels were big enough, they said you could drive trucks in them. They were huge. And they were showing me pictures on their cell phones saying, we know where the hostages are, and if we just can't get them because they're waiting for us to come in, and they've got booby traps in the tunnels, so if we come out, their opportunity is to take out soldiers as well as take out prisoners. They have no regard whatsoever. It was an amazing experience. And my hope for Israel is that we all remind everyone we know, and we all bear witness, and we all tell people and share with them. So, I mean, they have the strength, and they're going to fight, and they're not going to lose. But we need to remind them that we're here for them, and let everyone know that this is our country, and it's like the United States is where we live, but Israel is our home. And we have to always protect it. So, thank you.
People really thought he was crazy going to Israel for the very first time in the midst of, post-October 7th. And yet, what a powerful way to understand what this country means to Israelis and to us as Jews everywhere. Greg. Greg, by the way, with his family, came on a trip to Israel with me many years ago in the experience that so many of us know about when we go to Israel as tourists. But Greg and Leslie also came with me to March of the Living, to experience the death of 6 million of our brothers and sisters in Auschwitz. And so when the opportunity arose, Greg said, I'm coming, I need to be here.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Yeah, I said I wasn't going to do that. Yeah, this was my 5th time going to Israel. And I told my family I needed to go. I needed to give and show my support as any way I can. I needed to find answers. How was this allowed to happen? You always heard Israel was the best intelligence, and there was complete failures all over the board. There were so many different emotions I felt during this trip. Sadness, disgust, anger, and at times rewarding. We picked oranges, we fed the soldiers. I just have to say that it's like everybody said before, the Israelis were so supportive of us being there. They got to take care of business first. That's what they're doing. That's their objective, that's their goal. They're going to take care of business, and then they'll deal with what's going to happen afterwards. And as I told the rabbi, I've been on trips with him. Like I said, he said a family trip. And I just hope that we could go back in happier times. And thank you. That's all.
Alex, you... Okay. No problem. Rabbi, Ron?
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I broke the experience into the humorous, the romantic, the poignant, the hopeful. The humorous, we spent a lot of time with soldiers, and I was trying to build a bridge to them. So back in the 1980s, I was a Tzal Hall volunteer, so I was showing them pictures on my phone of me in uniform on different bases doing my jobs. They looked at me and they said, "You're like my grandfather." That I realized that they're 20 and I'm... The romantic, for some of the guys who are in Israel for the first time, they kept saying to me, "Man, there are some beautiful women here." In fact, you said that too, now that I think about it. And I said, "Yes, I know. That's why I married one." For the win. The poignant. Being with the soldiers, we were at Moshav Shokedah, and they figured out that I could speak a reasonable Hebrew, and they said to me, "Take this bottle of water, walk around the soldiers, get them hydrated, get them to drink." So I'm walking around, soldier stops me and he says, "With that accent, where are you from?" So I say, I'm a rabbi, I'm with a group of volunteers from Los Angeles, I'm doing this in Hebrew. And he says, "Okay, why are you here? What is the matter with you?" And I said, "Bati yashar me Los Angeles lagish lecha mayim." I came straight from Los Angeles to offer you water. At Shokedah, I got a chance to sit with a couple of chayolot, female soldiers, 19 and 20, both with their automatic weapons, both trying to eat lunch quickly. Their job was to take food back to the half of the unit that had come out of Gaza. And I'm talking with them, and with that accent, "Where are you from? Da 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 da. You're my grandfather's age. Da da da." Then it comes down to, what do you guys want to do after the army? We want to go to Thailand. We want to go to the world. And I said, okay, great. When was the last, I said, as a rabbi, I have to ask you, when was the last time you were home? They looked at me and they said, we haven't been home to see our families, haven't seen our families in a little over 2 months now. I looked at them, 19 and 20, carrying automatic weapons, being told by the government, go out and defend the nation. I looked at them and I said, this is a little bit chutzpan, a little bit nervy of me, but, on Friday night, parents bless their children. Could I step in for your father and give you guys a blessing? And I blessed them as a father would bless their daughters. And one of them says to the other one, what's that in your eyes? The other one says, nothing. And they both admitted they were both crying. The hopeful, we were at, as people have said, Beit Cholim Shiba. We're at the Shiba Hospital. We're in the unit that housed soldiers who had lost limbs. I was talking with a gentleman. He was a little older. He'd been doing Miluim. He'd stepped on a landmine and had his foot blown off. He was there with his mother. And we're talking. They're laughing at my accent. And I said, so, Mata sekeshatano b'tzava. When you're not in the army, what is it you do? He says to me, I need to bach. I am a chef. I go, wow. Ishti v'gadnen et schnitzel haki tov b'Los Angeles. Said to him, my wife makes the best schnitzel in Los Angeles. He looks at me and he says, I make the best schnitzel in Israel. And I look down where he's missing a foot, and he says to me, don't worry about that. I'll be cooking again soon. I'm Yisrael Chai.
Did I get everybody? Okay. So Alex was our oldest participant, after Ron Goldberg, that is. Actually, our youngest to represent the youth and to be able to come back to our Jewish Youth Network and share with all of them the powerful experiences that she witnessed. And Alex, are you going to talk about the yoga or no?
I'm not.
Okay,
But
so the last day that we were there, it was a very long day because we left late that night, but we went to a square in Tel Aviv called Hostage Square, right outside the Tel Aviv Art Museum. And there are all of these very, very powerful art exhibits, as well as this massive tunnel that was recreated like the tunnels in Gaza for people to walk through. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of signatures. And then there are things for sale like the dog tags that we bought and shirts and whatever else. And one of the hostages somehow got word across that when asked what we can do for him, was it a him or a her? I don't remember now. Do yoga. And every day at Hostage Square, there are hundreds of Israelis that come and do yoga with mats that all say, bring them home. And before we knew it, Alex, in the most magnificent downward-facing dog pose I've ever seen, was invited to join in the yoga.
yeah, it was great. Is it okay if I read something off my phone?
Of course.
Okay, thank you. All right, hi everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alex Farasat. And first of all, I just want to thank Rabbi Camras so much for this experience because I'll truly never forget it. And when I came back home, I just started sobbing automatically because it was so impactful and I just miss being there with all of you. So thank you so much. So I've been to Israel multiple times, and every time I go there, I just have this feeling that I don't even know how to describe. I just feel so at home and so alive. I can't even explain it. But I'm so lucky to have been able to experience Israel during a time of war. It was just so different, and let me explain. So we were able to volunteer and see the effects of October 7th on the people of Israel in multiple different ways. We were privileged to get special access to Kibbutz Kfar Aza, less than a mile away from Gaza, where 63 young Jews were slaughtered in their homes on October 7th, and 18 were kidnapped. The men who slaughtered these innocent young people were not even affiliated with Hamas, but just regular Palestinians in shorts and sandals who wanted to murder Jews, while these Jews just wanted peace with Gazans by settling so close to Gaza. We went to the site of the Nova Festival, where a grown man was sobbing next to a picture of his young brother. And I saw multiple people coming over just to comfort him and to give him water. We got to hear the story of a 23-year-old couple, Sivan and Naor, who met at the age of 16 and were planning to get married that year. We got to walk inside of their home, where we saw the sofa they sat on and the WhatsApp conversation Sivan had with her parents right before they were murdered. And we saw bullet holes in their walls. Another day, we went to see wounded soldiers in Sheba Hospital. We talked to a few young soldiers who had lost their limbs after stepping up to protect their people on October 7th, one of whom had to lay in the blood of his dead friend so the terrorist wouldn't kill him as well. We made lunch for soldiers who had just gotten out of Gaza and would return 30 minutes later after they ate. And so much more that I unfortunately don't have time to get into, but I would love to share if you want to talk afterwards. The important thing is, though, even while going through so much pain and terror, the Israelis are so strong and united. They're so positive. The parents of the wounded soldiers we visited were not angry that their sons had PTSD or lost limbs, but thankful that they were alive and proud that they had stood up for their country. Each Israeli that we talked to could not stop thanking us for coming from the U.S. to support them, and I just want to tell all of you how much your support means to the Israelis, even if you just are spreading the word about Israel or anything. The streets of Jerusalem and Tel Aviv are still filled with people enjoying dinner and music and laughing with friends. The Jewish people are so resilient, and going to Israel gave me hope that we will prevail. I've always felt at home in Israel, but I have never felt more of a sense of belonging and pride in my life than I did on this trip. Even though I live such an abundant and comfortable life here in the U.S., I long to be in Israel, again standing with my Jewish brothers and sisters in time of war. And I'm still processing everything that I saw, but I just want to say that we should all have such strong hope that we will survive and that we are strong and united as a people. Israel Chai.
If that is the future of the Jewish people, we are in amazing hands. James, I didn't even see you. Come on up.
Shabbat Shalom. I think everyone that was part of the group and everyone really shared all these amazing experiences and what we saw for ourselves. And I just want to say thank you so much to the HAMAKOM community and Rabbi Camras for making this experience happen. when this happened on October 7th, the first thing that I thought was, like, what can I do? I have to be there. I happened to be in Israel over the summer with my family, and it was the first time they had been to Israel. And it was just, obviously a really different experience. But being there and seeing firsthand, what transpired on October 7th, and seeing the resilience and the fight and the hope of the people there, and the soldiers and just everybody was so uplifting, because here it is, we're there to give back in any way that we can. And they're amazed that we're there. Like, what are we doing? Like, why are you here? And it was just, they have a job to do, and they're going to do it. And God willing, the hostages will come home, and we look at the next steps. But just being able to see what transpired, being able to feed them, to talk to them, to hear about their experiences, and to meet with these different organizations that are doing everything to bridge the gap after October 7th. It really was an amazing experience, and just watching the videos and stuff that were there, it really takes me back to when we were there and seeing, the brutality and the just barbaric actions of these monsters. But just seeing again the hope, the inspiration of everyone there, that it's going to be okay and we're gonna get through this, was really amazing. And it's really crazy to see on the news and the world we live in how the anti-Semitism and everything that's going on. And you see on TV everything that's happening, which doesn't put anything into perspective. And then you see it for yourself, and it's crazy, because how can anybody that's a human being, I guess, ask for that or even think that makes any sense after what happened? But it was an amazing experience, and I really, I'm going to carry this forever, and I'm so glad that I got to share it with the group and everybody, and thank you.
Our tour guide, Hannah Estrin, who is a rabbi, who was the rabbinic intern at Shomrei Torah a number of years ago, shared with us recently a beautiful, beautiful set of reflections. And one of the things that she does in the beginning is quotes a Jewish educator, Avram Infield, who says, "Jews don't have history, Jews have memory." And she says, we are crying out, "Do you see us? Do you understand? To be a Jew is to witness and to bear witness." And she says, to witness is passive, but to bear witness requires us to step forward, to speak up, to share what we know, to live and to tell the story. And she challenges us, will you share your memories and what you heard from some of the people who went on this life-changing trip, their stories and their memories. And I hope that you will continue to invite them to share those memories. And even more importantly, is that you will one day, if possible, get to Israel, to bear witness, to see for your own eyes, so that you can have these stories to tell, so that you can help out, so that you can support. Rabbi Vogel is planning a trip after the holidays in October. And if you have not been, or if you've been, but it's time to go again, think seriously about that opportunity to go with him. We're going to conclude in a minute or in a bit with Hatikva, because we are a people of hope. But before that, we have to confront the reality around us today. And so we are going to invite Rick and Steve to come forward to share very briefly what our synagogue is doing, and then we'll conclude with Hatikva. Oh, there's more. So you'll introduce whoever is
Thank you, Rabbi. My name is Rick Schillender, and in addition to being a member of HAMAKOM, I am our Kulana work group's lay lead. Many of you may not have heard about Kulana before, and so we're here today to explain it to you. Kulanu, that is all of us fighting anti-Semitism through Synagogues in Action Against Anti-Semitism, is the Anti-Defamation League's, ADL's, Congressional Engagement Program. Kulanu currently has about 225 participating synagogues throughout the country, 21 of which are located in California. This is, as I understand it, HAMAKOM's first year of participation in the Kulana program. ADL was founded 110 years ago in 1913 with its mission to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and to secure justice and treatment for all. The Kulana's charter, that is ours, is to educate our community and others about and to act against anti-Semitism. It is my belief with our friends and neighbors that so much of anti-Semitism is based on ignorance. For the last few years, anti-Semitism has been increasing in leaps and bounds, with 2023 being a record year for anti-Semitic acts. However, just between October 7th and January 7th of this year, the ADL has tracked over 3,000 acts of anti-Semitism, which represents an increase of over 300%, and it's getting worse. This is a time to speak up and not to keep quiet. To this aim, our Kulana work group has two initiatives in process. One that is internal to HAMAKOM, with the purpose of engaging with and educating our youth, and another that is eternal to HAMAKOM with the intent of engaging with and educating the interfaith community. Elena Colombo is heading up our Youth Engagement Initiative, and Val Katz is leading our Interfaith Initiative. And at this time, I'm going to ask Elena to please go over her initiative.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I want to thank, first of all, everyone for being here and everyone that shared their stories. My heart is just in so many places. It's amazing what you guys have done. And I want to thank Rabbi Camras so much because he introduced this Kulana group to our synagogue, and it has really changed my life in such a way. And I've always been very active in a lot of different organizations, from Surfrider to doing things with another recycling company. But this has found a place in my heart that is, this is where I need to be. So thank you, Rabbi Camras. So our youth is feeling anti-Semitism in a way that they never did before. After October 7th, it's hit them not only in their schools, but in their Instagram accounts, in their everyday life. And when I joined this beautiful group of Kulano people that I've grown to really be so grateful to be a part of with you guys, is there was a possibility to do something for the youth. So I had contacted Michelle Greenberg, who's part of the HAMAKOM youth program, and I said, hey, you know, Kulano's got a couple of things that we would like to do to talk about with the youth about how they can fight anti-Semitism. The first thing she said, they are so tired of hearing people talk. They are tired of just listening to a panel. And she said, why don't you do something in the kitchen? And I said, oh, that would be great. So, because that's where, when you go into somebody's home, usually the first place people hang out is the kitchen. So people are more comfortable. So we came up with a plan that on March 14th, we're going to do our first cooking and interactive workshop on how to deal with anti-Semitisms in their everyday life. Besides having the ADL, I had also created a program for the young youth, but as Michelle had explained, she goes, they're just tired, so we'll make a workshop. So we're working on a workshop which is going to be the WHW, the When, How, Where, Why workshop, while cooking. And this is going to be going over some simple things that some of us don't even know, which is, how do we protect ourselves? How do the kids protect themselves? They don't really get a course when they go out into the world, into their college courses, and it's changing consistently. So we are going to be doing a program where we're going to show how to keep themselves safe, what's considered a safe environment, and also how to understand anti-Semitism with the fact that we have cognitive dissonance, which is something that really reflects a lot with anti-Semitism, and talking about that. And then we'll be teaching them drills, which are drills on what do we do when someone puts a phone in our face? What's the best way to protect ourselves? How do we use our body language when we're talking to somebody? How do we learn to deflate a situation? And when is it best to step away? Because sometimes it's better to be smart than right. And I communicated with various different college campuses, with law enforcement, with school psychiatrists, and we came up with some ideas of using their body language. And also one of the really important key factors is, like, what if anti-Semitism happens to me? How do I report it? And we came up with a plan which was, you have everything in black and white. You write everything down. You contact the ADL. You contact the Civil Harassment Rights Organization, and how the process is of each college campus. And that way, they can also learn to be proactive. And so that is something that we're going to be doing. And the rest I'm going to leave up to our Val, who I'm going to introduce. She does our interfaith engagement.
Hi, I'm not going to keep you long. I just want, as Elena said, the part that I'm heading up is initiative with ADL, is to reach out to the interfaith communities, because so much of it is ignorance about Jewish people, to strengthen our relationships. Rabbi Mendelsohn, who's not here right now, but was instrumental in helping put together an interfaith solidarity meeting at Shepherd of the Valley Lutheran Church. It was commemorating 100 days since the October 7th atrocities. Was anyone there that are here? It was pretty amazing, wasn't it? Yeah. And it was a really meaningful experience just to come together with the church, people, and hearing what their view of everything, and just learning a lot from us. And I'm sure many of you here today were at the incredible evening honoring Martin Luther King, where we stood with many faiths and came together in unity to fight hate. That was here just a couple of weeks ago. So were you here, many people? Hopefully, yeah. It was amazing. The goal of Kulanu is to educate our interfaith communities about anti-Semitism, and we plan to have many more events like I just mentioned, and only through breaking barriers, understanding each other's religions and faiths, can we truly combat anti-Semitism. And I'd now like to introduce Steve Springer, who many of you know today.
Thank you. Just to reiterate some of the points also, and then I'll carry on. In this perilous time when anti-Semitism seems to grow ever more prevalent, ever more dangerous with each passing day, a dark shadow has spread across the country and well beyond. And now synagogues, as was said, across the country, across the United States, working with the Anti-Defamation League, are fighting back with a group effort named Kulanu, which stands for All of Us Together. Here at HAMAKOM, Kulanu, working with ADL's Congregational Engagement Program, has two initiatives underway: the Youth Engagement, which you heard about, and the Interfaith Community Engagement, which you heard about. We currently have 14 members in Kulanu at HAMAKOM. I started to say Shomrei Torah, sorry. Rabbi Camras has kind of recruited all of us. I know he mentioned it to me, and I was really enthusiastic about doing it. But the point now is we would like to expand. The more community involvement we have, the more we can accomplish in our battle against anti-Semitism. We are hoping that some of you out there will join our work group and participate in a mission to turn back this horrific threat to all of us. 80 years ago, at the end of the Holocaust, Jews around the world uttered in unison, "Never again." The time has come once again to renew that vow. And those of you who might be interested in joining, I think Rick has some material that he can pass out, and hopefully we can expand from where we are now and from this great beginning we've made. Thank you.
For any who might be interested in joining with us, have any questions or need additional information, there are some flyers on the bench on the way out. Please feel free to take one. And thank you for being here.
So thank you to Kulanu, thank you to our participants, thanks to all of you. We're going to rise, and as we conclude this afternoon with the singing of words of hope of our national anthem for Israel, Hatikva. Is Chazan Mimi here by any chance to lead it instead of me? And Chazan Smith, better you two than me getting up and leading it. And the flag is right behind us.
Kol od baleva penima nefesh Yehudi omnia ulfate mizrach kadima ayin l'tzion Sophia.
All over Israel, you see signs, B'yachad Ninatseach, which means together we will be victorious. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, 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 Am Yisrael. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you. Thank you. Remember, take the flyers for Kulanu.